Hello, everyone. Today, I would like to thank you, first of all, for joining this very, very exciting and engaging session uh, on research and communicating research more specifically to the last mile audience. We have with us here today Siddhartha Bora from PRM 34, who will be the speaker for this session. And
We can't hear you, Nibedita.
am I audible now? Hello?
Feebly. Yeah, now okay.
Okay, sorry about that. I will start from the top again. So, welcome everyone here to this session of IRMAN Talks. It will be on rigor and reach in communicating research to a broad audience. Our speaker for today is Siddhartha Bora from PRM 34, and the session will be moderated by Kaustubh Kumar from PRM 36. With that, I will hand over the discussion to them.
Thank you, Nibedita. Welcome, everyone. Nice to connect virtually. I and Siddhartha both are located in US, and today Siddhartha is going to present on reach and rigor. As you might have seen in the IRMAN talks, information related what Siddhartha was going to present. It begins with "Isse kya hoga," and that is what is one core issue that we always face, whether we are in academia or non-academic jobs. So, as we have planned, first Siddhartha will present some slides, and then we will start informal discussions around his work and the core idea of this presentation. Uh, Siddharth, please, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone. My name is Siddhartha Bora and I'm from PRM 34 and I currently work as an assistant professor at West Virginia University, Morgantown. It's a land-grant university based on Morgantown, USA, in the state of West Virginia as the premier university in the state with a mandate to serve, conduct research, teach and also serve the farmers and agribusinesses and the general public in the state, which is a unique mandate for some universities in the US enjoy, particularly in 2-3 states. Having said that, I'll use a set of slides, not long, about 10 to 15 minutes, to organize our thoughts for the session and give you more organized view of what I am doing right now, and then we can have a more engaged discussion. Can I share my slides, right? Okay. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. So, rigor and reach and communicating research to a broad audience. So when I thought of this, why rigor and reach? So it is the tension between those two things. So I go by as a agricultural economist right now, although I have worn many hats in different parts of my career. And by nature, the work I do as a research is highly mathematical, highly computational, and it's very rigorous. To publish as a research and to contribute to the knowledge, it takes a time, effort, and serious amount of abstract math and and data analysis, and finally contributing something to the knowledge, which cannot be compromised because knowledge has to be created. But at the same time, most of my work, most of my research, I'm probably writing for around 100 people in my field. Even within my field, most of my work is in commodity markets. I work with uh, like time series data from futures, commodity futures, forecasting. Those are my main interest in terms of techniques and domain. And I'm probably writing my work for about 100 people in the field, my academic papers. So the tension is how to reach the work, how to make sure that the work also reaches the people, the broader people, the public, the farmers, and others that can actually benefit from this work. Because in the work, there are implications that actually it can help people. It can help market participants. So this the reach between creating knowledge rigorously and at the same time making that knowledge reach a broader audience who can actually use it. That's the theme of this research, this presentation. And this is a constant tension that I feel every time in my work every day. And I'm still learning. I'm in an early career stage of my academic role, which is only about 3.5 years. So I'm still learning and try to find synergies between these two supposedly contradictory stream, but I'm hoping that over time I can find synergy, and also most of the people in academia and most and community also strives to find synergy between rigor and reach. So that's why I'm just trying to start a conversation today with you. So who we are writing for the research product that we generate as from academia. So if you see broadly, it is for journal reviewers because peer review system is very important gatekeeping role in publishing research. And many are who are in academia know that uh, publishing as an accomplishment is important for many regions, although that should not be the main goal, but institutionally the incentive systems tells you that you should publish or perish. That's another discussion, like you can go on forever. Then we write for grant committees so that we can get funding. If you are doing research at the student stage, writing for thesis committees, very rigorous. Any mistakes, any errors, anything that may be considered lack of rigor is punished severely. So your research supposed to be elegant, causal, and many other things that might go through these group of people, peer economists, fellow researchers, conference audiences, where it will be heavily grilled, and we are trained to prepare for that and produce for that public. But there are a lot of smaller groups in the background that in gray, farmers, traders in Monday, extension agents. In the US, there's an extension system where try to connect with the local people or the agribusinesses in the state, similar to many cooperative systems in India. Like NGO field officers, policymakers, cooperative, school students, which is actually I make a important group that I try to reach. So all these groups become in the background, although the research is supposed to be helping, communicating, or doing for them. So we make the journal reviews, grant committees the most important. So we are writing for a very smaller subset of people. So from my perspective, I consider while keeping my research rigorous, I try to reach farmers, K2 students, which is like high school students, middle school, high school students, the school systems, policymakers, local journalists, extension as the general public. So this is the last mile that research, while keeping rigorous, we want to add an extra layer and try to reach. So at WVU, and Kaustuv also is from Ohio State, and this is the place where is my alma mater. This is where I also received my PhD at Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio. Both of these universities are called land grant universities, which came around the second part of 19th century after 1862 Morrill Act. They were in particular established to provide with three missions: research, teaching, and extension. Research generates knowledge rigorously, applied, not just theoretical, and for the public good. So then, through teaching, transfer knowledge to the next generation and make it accessible to all and processed over the product. And finally, the extension angle is take the knowledge to the community. And it's a systematic process with systems around every county, which is like districts in India, have an extension agent and presence in the ground to the last mile connection, mostly farmers and other people in the state. So in these three functions, there are tensions between all three. Many people might have dedicated extension agent, that's fine. But faculty in particular, my role, many times there would be a research split in the work, teaching split in the work. How many classes will you teach? Say 45%, 45%. Then service or extension, these people, this aspect is relegated to say 10%, 15%, 20% of your work. So it by design becomes a, you know, third priority sometimes. And then so like unless we develop synergy in things we do, so for example, if we consider traveling to a remote county in the state to attend a meeting, eating into research time, then it might compromise the outreach aspects of it. So so for now, my goal as a researcher is to find synergy between all these three functions while producing research with rigorously, but teaching the similar things and also training students in doing research, but at the same time reaching different parts of the state, different parts of the country, or when my research is global, say for example commodity prices, which tends to be global, affects us all, reach a larger audience. So that's the challenge, that when we consider each part not competing with each other and reinforce each aspect. So for example, when we talk to a farmer in a state, or the example I was giving of इससे क्या होगा, someone asking you while you are doing research for say field work, what will come out of it. So all of these things actually help us ask questions probably that can spark future research. So finding synergies between extension and outreach work, reaching out to people, and grounding research questions in those interactions could be more useful. So that's how and teaching similar things and generating questions in a teaching research and outreach synchronized way. That's how I'm trying to develop my thoughts going forward, and it's a challenge. So that's how I operate these days. So here I have found some of uh, like trying to do the same things but in different language. So for example, I do some research on commodity futures, and I'll explain it in a journal in a very technical way, very unbiased, very measured, very measurable, and numbers, numerically, with graph and everything. But the same thing, that markets contain information that is actionable, that can be expressed to the farmer or any other market participant in a different language, understandable language. So converting this research in different formats, same things, but it preparing different audiences. This is something that I'm trying to do for my research. So what I do for journal, I also have a version for others. And I also have, so what I present in a research conference, I also try to take the same thing to my class or some meeting that I had in a local extension event for a different audience. But the truth is same, just the language. There, one side there could be a lot of math, one side there's no math. So that's one aspect of research that has different language with expressing the same truth to different audience, and the researcher is the same. So that's one aspect of the work. Then for approaches, so different approaches works, and it is by trial and error. It comes over time. So I would like to share some of the things that I try to do for trying to make research accessible. One part is making research papers, because when we write research published work, it also gets published in under a paywalled, you know, paywalled journal system. So many times people in particular in developing countries who faces a exchange rate, it's very difficult to even access a journal copy if they want to read. So many times, if possible, if it permits, the grants permit open access research publication when possible, or if not, make sure that an author copy, pre-published copy is available in my website, so someone can read a pre-published version of the research. It's accessible without a paywall, if permitted by the copyrights. So many do. At the same time, in agriculture economics and economic research, the journal research papers that I write, tend to be pretty dense in the middle. In the sense, there are the method sections, there are results section. It will contain serious amount of math and data and other things. But there are parts of the paper that could be accessible. For example, the abstract. So the one important trick to do research pretty accessible is write the abstract in a way that anyone can understand. So it's 100 words. We are explaining what we did, what I found, how we do it, why we did, in 100 words. And that is also not just important for reaching bigger audience. It's also important for attracting interest from researchers as well, because people do not have that much time. So just explain everything in the abstract pretty accessibly. Then at least on the introduction and conclusion sections of the paper, anyone can understand the work without delving much into the how and why this was done. So if you don't, what you have done and what you have found, if these parts can be explained in the introduction and conclusion sections in a very accessible way, anyone without too much exposure to the methods can understand. And if they want to understand the method, they can read the paper further. So that's another way I try to organize my research. Then once published, or prepare extra, this is the extra work after research. Prepare extra reports, say 2-page reports on the paper itself. So, and then try to publish local articles depending on what the research was about. If it was a research that can affect local farmers in West Virginia or Ohio, try to find local journals, local newspapers. Someone in Ohio State University found this, and they publish, and that research goes to the farmer. So some journal that every farmer publishes, or a newspaper, it publishes, it says that what the research was about and what they found. So that is the way that to reach one of, like, the extra mile, to using the channels that people use, and find local channels to republish, like publishing like derived reports on the research. So these are not op-eds. So I'm not writing opinions, but it's just extra policy, media articles or policy reports on the research itself, and trying to find channels, local channels to for farmers to reach. So that is some extra work that many researchers do not do. Also, that actually helps. Even so, that's one important, like, extra work after you publish a paper. Then other things that I find useful is using data visualizations. Most of my work is basically I write a lot of codes, like skills like R and Python. So there are ways to, like, write an extra layer of code to pack everything together, put it in a like a data visualization, when someone who wants to understand the research, rather than reading the paper, they can walk through a interactive visualizations. And there's another audience, like other researchers. If the codes are available in the GitHub repository, people can do similar things themselves, or just check how it was done. So that is like catering to a different type of audience, new researchers. And that's another thing, adds to the traditional research output, the paper. Then the extension network, in Indian context, we can have the cooperative network, working with the communities, and trying to be present in it takes time. Mostly, a lot of the things happen in weekends, and attending meetings of farmers, just learning, talking to them, and having they know that what you are doing, and you know what are their problems are. So that helps the also the feedback loop of research and outreach. Then leveraging social media. If a lot of the time reposting things helps reach people, extra people. Most importantly, the last thing is finding alternative venues to make research more visible in conventional ways. So myself, I'm formally dressed because after this I'm going to a school event where I'll just sit in a stall and students will come and see. And so always I keep some of the visuals from me presenting paper or mostly my students presenting paper research like a poster available to them. A lot of these things help students. So in many cases, a lot of the students might be thinking about going to college. So those decisions may be impacted. So these are the alternative events, school events, farmer shows that it takes time away, but these are I consider very valuable. It helps me in my research while talking to them, and it also helps the community. So being present in this type of events and also some way uh, extending the research outreach. So basically, although a lot of the times knowledge generation process is rigorous, and it has to be because uh, you have to contribute to new knowledge, find truth in a convincing way. But at the same time, the ex careful, targeted, uh, I would say, meaningful outreach can actually help it reach the last mile. So this is the exercise I do myself, and I think it could be useful for any researcher, particularly new researcher. Take a finding from your very complicated, very elegant research work, write it in a way a school student can understand. If it works, then anyone can understand. So that's my takeaway from this talk. I think this was all I had as a slide, and I think we can go for like a longer discussion on topics. Thank you.
It was really nice, Siddharth, presenting examples from your work, sharing your thoughts. How do you feel about rigor in academic work versus reach that it has to make? We had kept this session title as "Isse Kya Hoga?" So if you remember, if you can share some views, was there any moment in your career where this question made you stop and think differently about the purpose of research?
Yes. So this is actually I remember this talk all the time. This particular phrase. So at some point of time after my IRMA journey, I was working in a organization based in New Delhi, Sambodhi Research and Communications, where I learned a lot of things about research before my PhD. So most of my work involved traveling, doing a lot of field surveys all over North India in particular. And I have traveled to almost all districts of states like UP. And I was mainly managing survey teams. So you train a group of people to do some questionnaire and send them out. And you also travel with them. You basically want to collect data. Mostly you are working for some funding agency or vendor. So your deliverable is to quality data. That's all you care about. So you do a lot of research, a lot of survey. And then at one time in some place in UP, I was going to a village working with my team. People are doing service. And then one lady who is a respondent asked me, भाई इससे क्या होगा लास्ट वीक भी तो कोई आया था हर टाइम कोई आके सर्वे करते जाते हैं हमारा क्या होगा राइट. So you see, in India, like we do a lot of surveys, and this surveys, what we use for doing this surveys, we use the sample frame from the census. We pick up what are the villages, and we use some variables, and ultimately, what happens? So many surveys are going on. Uh, Same group of villages keep coming, picked up by so many surveys, and ultimately you end up going to the people And in India, like I'm not sure now, they're usually you do not compensate also for the time that they give you. It's basically you knock and get information from them, and then okay, I take that part out, like immediate financial compensation for the time that I think it should also happen. But so what इससे क्या होगा, like so all this research and service, it is doing something. Maybe people are writing research papers, or I'm doing like so a lot of academic academics are writing research paper, and maybe attaining their goals, and which is also important. But at the same time, there is a lot of reports are going to the funding agencies or maybe government. But is this knowledge going back to the community, right? Does the community know? And that is a different question whether it works or not. But is the transparency of uh, giving it back to the community and people knowing that this is meaningful, so that conversation, uh, I always think about that now, that इससे क्या होगा. So if you're doing research, इससे क्या होगा, if you, or इससे कुछ नहीं होगा, maybe you can publish a paper that might be useful for whatever the incentive you have, like all the publish and perish mindset. But इससे क्या होगा, it also comes from this IRMA, our IRMA background, that we will think इससे क्या होगा. So that is actually guiding principle that I use for my research. So
Yes, I clearly remember there was a course and a professor who used to ask us, "So what?" And then it used to open more lines of thinking for us. You also mentioned about the people who are answering our surveys, the data going back to them instead of only staying in the journal articles. So when researchers struggle to connect with their audiences, what do you think is usually at the root of it? As
I would
a
say like there are different things. One could be different the incentives, but I think all it takes is a little bit of more purpose and initiative from researchers' side, I would say, to add and do that a slight extra, because actually it takes a lot of effort and time, particularly to publish in disciplines like economics in top journals. It takes like 4 or 5 years to even publish good journals. But the outreach is very low effort, high impact aspect, and not a lot of people realize this. So you can the marginal cost of adding, say for example, I already have a lot of codes from my research work, but adding an extra layer, I can add a visualization layer to it. It's just 10% extra work, you know. So again, you find you have published a 50-page paper with theorems and proofs, but writing 2 pages about it and talking in a local journal, it increases the reach without not a lot of effort. So many people do not realize it. Or some other thing is that the we actually we Kostub, you and me, we are fortunate to be course close to the extension system in our universities, that gives us access to stakeholders directly. And with our training at IRMA and the non-profit and cooperative sector in India, that keeps us grounded. But not many researchers are trained with these stakeholder adjacent places. So anytime research is rigorous, it should be, it cannot be compromised, but it all stays that way. So many people do not realize that the impact can be made with a little extra effort. So
you mentioned about what incentives one is getting within the system. Does it also has to do that with the skills of the person or the culture overall where you are doing the work?
Yeah, so it depends. Although like you have to be careful about how to what type of work you do. For example, a lot of my work is also training students, preparing them for job market at some point of so if someone in PhD job market, early career researcher, even myself, like I only 3 years, 3.5 years past job market, then there are certain things are demanded by the job market, a causal, very elegant work that will help you get a job as a researcher. So that has to be done, right? So that's a primary deliverable. You have to do it as a researcher because that's what you are judged on. So, but you also need to add these things on the outreach side. So it adds extra flair. So it doesn't mean that you do not have to do the outreach aspect. But again, these are pressures of competitive job markets and again tenure systems. So incentive structures uh, are one reason. So
You mentioned incentive systems. Yes, it comes into play in every public sphere, private sphere, even in thirds and in the civil society organizations. Well, you mentioned about your work regarding forecasting.
mhm.
So it has real implications for farmers and food supply chain. So you also touched upon some points how you try to bring your research to the common masses. So how do you see work in forecasting and adjacent sectors, or in general, the research really translating into real world practice or going to it?
Yeah, so forecasting is actually it's a easier thing to do to connect with the people. Although the methods are forecasting methods are developing to become more rigorous for users, you do not have to show the method. It's since my background is also in engineering, and my early research I did some of work in signal processing in IIT Delhi, and some of that expertise I converted to forecasting. The point is, users do not have to see what is going on inside. Although they, for transparency perspective, there should be information, but they don't need to know. It's like the design principle. So if it is a forecasting app or forecasting exercise, you can abstract away some of the like complications and still deliver the forecasted output and its meaning in a say interactive dashboard or their farmer reports. So weekly forecast reports, so morning reports on what commodity markets today will be, with caveats, because forecasting is not always works in a way it forecasts, right? Otherwise you can forecast everything. So yeah, so forecasting is something that people understand its importance quickly. If we can forecast the corn price tomorrow, I can make profit. So it's easy to do that, but at the same time, you do not have to show people the inner engine. It can be a black box. So you can explain the black box to its audience. So I think you are
Sorry,
muted.
I was muted. Yeah. So you mentioned about forecasting results and its use. In your experience, which audiences are most difficult to communicate with, and what kind of remodeling do you do to your work to communicate with them? What kind of rethinking does it require? You
Well,
have worked across academic system, in consultancy, in land grant universities. How do
I
you
would say
see it?
so. I would say a lot of my work is on forecast evaluation. When the forecast systems of other parties, like public forecast, is communicating with the forecast producers on their difficulties in their systems, which comes from the forecast evaluation progress. That's a bit difficult because to for a system level rethink or review, sometimes there are resistance or the other things. So it's the forecast producer.
Okay, let us touch upon some more topics related to economics. As you mentioned in your presentation also, or while you were also talking about it, economics journals usually tend to be very abstract and very vast and very dense in terms of their computation and the presentation. How much difficult it becomes for you to translate the way you care about the real world impact. You said you look at high school students, and if you can communicate, that is like the best thing, one of the best outputs. So on those lines, how do you think you navigate as someone who really cares about real world impact?
Yeah. So actually, to be frank, a lot of the economics journals or research, although it is viewed as dense and its theorems and all, ultimately they are the underlying question is many times it's just obvious, or it's very directly related to the life, although it is expressed in a elegant mathematical theorem driven way, but underlying problem is important than day-to-day life related, right? So that's why, like, I was coming back to my previous comment when write the abstract in a very layman way. So for my work or others, if the isse kya hoga inspired research has initial motivations already started in a way of layman's word, it's actually pretty grounded in understanding by anyone. So other things are actually adds more credence and relevance and uh, rigor to the story, but underlying story is still accessible. See, so just that description has to be prepared and be there, maybe elucidated with more examples. The reason I'm very well dressed is I'm actually going to a school event just after this, so I need to think of some of my new research and talk about in a accessible way. So I'll do that exercise that I put in the last slide now. You're muted.
Much of our conversation is hovering around expanding the reach. In IRMA also, in many of our courses and in our field work, in our internship works, it was also it has been a core focus how to make bigger reach. Even in the land grant system, where right now you are working, or in other uh, US universities which are more agriculture and land grant focused. In the system, it's more of like they have mission of research, teaching, and outreach, which resonates closely with IRMA mission also. So, which of the three do you find gets the least attention in practice, whether it is research or teaching or outreach?
Sometimes outreach definitely because of the design that you have 10%, 15%, and also that is counted as service outreach, and it also a lot of the committee service for departmental takes away already a lot of that commitment. Then outreach become really really last priority unless you are an extension faculty or others. Teaching sometimes, you know, then yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned about outreach given lesser importance among the research and teaching and outreach components. Before we open the floor for others, I would like to touch upon what is one thing you would, looking back in your IRMA journey, in your PhD journey, and to now where you are, What is one thing you wish someone had told you at the start?
Oh, so starting from while in about research.
Yes, about research, about the way right now we are speaking about reach and rigor, increasing it.
Yeah. So a lot of the things that I'm telling now. Yeah. So when I was starting my research, I was always the methods first person. It comes from my background. Many things I am finding now. I'm still learning. So lot when I started research, I was not like that. I thought that I need to find a very elegant research method or make a method myself and prove some theorem and find some problem to use it. You see, a lot of my earlier research I used that way. Actually, it could be competitive for publication purposes. And now I try to find my research idea in the opposite way that which I have been speaking today. So I hope that I attended this presentation sometime back. So
Nice. We will now we can take audience questions. The floor is open.
Can I ask a question? Uh, Siddhartha, I'm Dr. K.K. Upadhyay. I met you when you were with somebody. I used to work with Vicky as director CSR. I especially came here to see you. I'm from PRM 1. And at
I
present, I work with as a professor and chairperson, Birla Institute of Management Technology in Greater Noida. So I deal in sustainability, climate change. My first of all, I'm very happy to see you here. Love your journey. I would like to know from you, like say, there was a conference 2 days back in Vigyan Bhavan. We were there. People are talking now about societal impact actually. As a researcher, as a PhD, as a person in this teaching domain, now even AACSB, NAC, all are asking about community engagement, societal impact, what type of things you are making for the community around you and all. What are your views on that? Or do you face that there also?
uh, yeah. So as I was explaining, since we are in a universities that there's some structures already in that,
Yeah.
and I think it should be the part of the conversation. This is great that it is happening now. All right. So it is a demand on the researcher, I believe, like you have to do some work. But the point is, it is actually a high impact, low effort than the research you already have, you know. So I think it's a welcome thing, and researchers should embrace it. So yeah, nice to meet you again, and
Sure.
yeah,
Very
and
happy.
thanks
Let's
for,
be in touch.
yep.
Let's be in touch. Sure. Thank you.
Siddhartha, is it okay if I ask a quick question as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, do you think the onus of reach should be more equitably distributed? Do you think that apart from the researcher himself or the researchers themselves, there
Mhm.
should be other people or other stakeholders who should be held accountable for the reach?
Yeah, I think like so it is not up to one researcher. It's to the research community, and that community extends to professional bodies and like organizations or government adjacent or funders, the entire ecosystem, to be making available research venues, like events, and support for this type of uh, like uh, say for example, and one day workshop on research impact, right? So it's it requires support from people to organize it and some money probably, and it incentivizes researchers to join them. And as I said, that it's very difficult for researchers to find the community together, like the people they're trying to reach. It's very difficult, and some of the times, the skill of managers and researchers, IRMAN might have it, but a lot of researchers are trained in the rigor side, right? So a lot of this work of reaching the people, uh, and and uh, and also like the platforms that can be done in a more organized way, and from the other side of like the funder side, like from the government side or from civil society side, or mostly professional body side. So researcher side, if I split, just making it like accessible, like adding that extra 10% layer of creating content that is accessible. But the platform side, I believe that researcher needs, and it's probably not up to the individual researcher to create that part. So if I split, I'll split that way.
Understood. Makes sense. And also, since you mentioned that you view it as a multi-stakeholder problem, at least the
Mhm.
platform part,
Yeah.
and you mentioned a very important word, skill. I was actually coming to that for my next
Mhm.
question. So do you think that storytelling and not just plain vanilla communication, but storytelling should now be considered as a very important skill for aspiring researchers?
Yes, I think like it actually comes together with a suite of skills. Uh, so coming from, like, it depends on the discipline, but mostly it is almost universal to all disciplines, and that is something that I make sure that all of my students, and I actually mentor a lot of aspiring PhD applicants and many from IRMA. People find me and contact, and I always try to give them this talk. So the broad suite of skills comes from, one part of skills are just managing and communicating, summarizing data. Some of that is mostly coding like R, Python, and those type of languages. Uh, those are accessible to most people, and not many people realize it. Sometimes they don't, they may think that if they are not from a like a technical background, they might not know that those are easy to do. And also now modern AI support, it's actually become more accessible. And I actually spent a lot of time in my career during at my time at somebody also to train non-coders to code, like in 2-day workshop, how to do some maps in R and those kind of things. So that actually generates a lot of content for visually appealing and then visualization interactivity. Then putting that together and synthesizing the storytelling part, that's actually hard skill, and that comes with experience and learning. And this over the progression of this whole suite of things that a researcher needs, from gathering bits and pieces from everything and then putting it together and communicating in a very succinct and impactful way. That is like I'm a student of that thing, and that's very. I would say that I'm perfect or anything. I'm learning. As I said, 5 years ago I did not know anything about it, and so yeah, I think that storytelling part very important, and it's so hard, like you have, and it's customizable for every different audience, and just the researcher need to know that it should be, so that's very important. Yeah, and this skill part, other reason of the skill part is actually it's a practical reality, because I train students, and that's very important part of my work, and they have to be competitive in the job market beyond research and academia. So a lot of this doing research elegantly part, acquiring a lot of skill along the way, covers that aspect pretty well, like, you know, some hard skills
Mm, mm,
along with soft
understood.
skills.
Thank you. Thank you.
Regarding skills and regarding coding and visualization, how do you see your journey working from IRMA to work sphere to your PhD here, and then now, last 10, 12 years, the way it has gone for you. How do you see your journey on these lines of research, rigor, reach, translating them into your work and outside your work?
Yeah, I think like I picked up things along the way, different bits from different places. Irma, I learned a lot, and Isekia, who I expect, and doing a lot of field work. In particular, one time, like my MTS, I did a feasibility study of a community radio station in Assam, and I was just using a bike and traveling, asking people things. That was very learning too. And I would say I was a rigor person from the beginning because of my training as an undergrad. And some of my research journey started in IIT Delhi. I have a lot of papers in IEEE Explore on electric digital signal processing, which is basically rigor. There is not much rich element there. So rich element, I have been adding and adding and adding, trying to add because I, I, it's actually rich is harder than rigor if you do not have experience, and rich come with a lot of experience. Rigor uh, is also cannot be compromised. The other thing is though you need to have both. So I would say all this time I have been trying to add reach, and I'll continue to try to add reach. Rigor is enforced by the training, like the PhD training, quite rigorous. A lot of the things in IRMA was quite rigorous too, that added a lot of rigor as well. So
Nice. If any other audience member has question, we have a couple of minutes before we close.
I'll put my email in the chat if you want. It's also publicly available.
Good.
Yeah, any early career stage IRMAn who wants to pursue research, I'm always there to help with my journey. Starting from application processes and things like that. I think Kaustubh does a lot of that too, you know. So feel free to reach out if there is someone watching the recorded version for that aspect. So
That's actually amazing, Siddhartha and Kaustav. The support that you're giving to the community. On behalf of the community, thanks to both of you. Thanks a lot. So, are there any further questions here from the audience?
Uh, Hi, can I ask one question?
Yes, please,
Yep.
Nikita.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Nikita. So I'm from PRM 40 and I work as a researcher with CMS in Bangalore. We are also a social impact consulting company. So one question, I think we might have answered that also, but I am asking again because I think we keep struggling with that in our work as well. Like, how do we, and I think that was one of the crux of your topic also, but uh, so many a times when we want to explain our findings to the program team who are non-technical, but when we do that, it also feels to them like, okay, like how basically how do you balance rigor and the storytelling? Like, I don't want the essence of the rigor to be lost in the storytelling. I'm not sure if my question is making sense, but what I want to say is ki how do you communicate research without diluting the methods or just telling something that they already know. So, is it clear? Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
sure. Again, this is like very difficult, and you cannot compromise rigor at any case. So this depends on it depends on a lot of your like in the room moments, like how to reading the room moments, also important, reading a person. The way I approach, suppose if it is a slide presentation, the way I approach this is I will have my they need to, it's like need to know basis. So depending on the audience, you are giving what type of, like, say, program manager or everything they need to know will be in the set of slides that I'll present and talk about. But I'll also have the extra tables and things that I'll include in the report in the after thank you slide. And any questions, I'll go back. So I have all my things, rigorous things with me. Maybe I will not present it on the first time, but I'll have it with me and give them whatever they need to know. And I'm always available for follow up with all my things. So, but sometimes the difficulty is, like, I have done myself, like spending like 10 minutes on the method sections presenting, and because at school it's where I put most effort, but people probably do not realize it. I'm basically probably losing them. So over time, like, I'm trying to do it better every time. It's difficult because it's always a new person in the room, right? So it's mostly like I try to operate that on a need to know basis, like whatever they need to know, I'll present, but I'll have everything. Again, it's hard.
Yes, noted. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I think we have reached 1 hour window, and now we can proceed towards closing it. Nivedita, please.
Hello.
Yes, you are.
Hello, is I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Govind.
Yeah. Actually, I missed this somehow, and unfortunately, I joined very late. And I realized that a few people from academia, including, so there's no question as such. I just wanted to say that we are from IRMA, a very small set of people, or maybe not a very big one. Still, they are in academia after that. Either PRM or FPRM. I'm basically from PRM 35. I joined with them. I joined FPRM program at IRMA, and currently I'm working as assistant professor at senior level in Amrita School of Business, Coimbatore. So I'm working on basically my work is on workplace climate, ethical climate, and all that. And I can see KK Upadhyay sir, who is also here, who works more on CSR and all. Upadhyay sir, nice to see you, sir.
Yes, so nice, Govind. So nice.
Yeah, so I was thinking we can have more such discussion around the research
Yes.
academia, so it is great to hear from you, particularly I saw it late, unfortunately. I could not join it early.
No problem.
Mhm.
Welcome,
Yeah.
Govind.
Yes.
Nikita?
Uh, yeah. Hi, Govind. Just a quick
Yeah.
note here. So after this session concludes, we'll be uploading this video as well. So, you can just go back to it, and whatever, in case you have some time, you can just go over it again and just refer back to the pieces that you might have missed. Okay. But
Definitely.
nonetheless, so good to have you here. So good. Okay. Unless there are more questions, I think we can close now.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
So thank you everyone for being here with us today. Special thanks to the speaker Siddhartha Bora and the moderator Kaustubh Kumar for kindly being with us here today and sharing their insights on a very exciting topic. Thank you so much. As I mentioned before, we will be uploading the recording, and we'll also, Siddhartha has shared his email ID here. So I will also try to get that across in the various groups when we upload the recording. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.